So, we are talking about why we leave our real self behind when we're starting to meet new people or we're starting to be in new environments. And I want you to learn how to let go of your first impression representative and be the real you. So, I'm Tiffany Lindley. I'm the founder and CEO of On Epiphany Lane, which is a mental health consulting and training company. I'm also the founder of Epiphany Lane Counseling, an online and in-person therapy practice. I help high achievers and neurodivergents of color gain clarity on their journey to peace, power, and joy. So, as a person with mental health conditions, I'm talking about myself. I'm not saying you have mental health conditions, but I have ADHD. I still get things done. And you don't have to suppress so much of who you are to get things done. We assume that because we're not quote unquote normal, that people won't accept who we are. But that lack of self acceptance robs you of the power to embrace who you really are. And who you really are is who you are at your best. Other people are not an excuse to be less than. Do you want to show up as bold? Do you want to show up as funny? Do you want to show up as curious? I like to show up as confident and intelligent, but also silly because I like to make jokes, and wise. I want people to know that I know things that can help them. So the first step to self-acceptance is the knowledge of yourself. So many people struggle with identifying what they're good at. And strength identification is a very important thing because if you don't know, how is someone else going to know? And a lot of times they're concerned about what they aren't. So reality is far more graceful. Example, okay, I watched this about a group of superhero teens called My Hero Academia. I don't know if any of you all watch it, but it's a pretty entertaining show. I really enjoy it because the way they talk about their superpowers are actually called quirks. And some people's quirks are like obviously cool, people that can fly, people that have super strength, but some are a little bit more creative. There's a guy who pulls tape out of his face. There's another kid who like makes bubbles, like but whatever they have, whatever quirk they have, it makes them powerful. So what are your quirks? What are the things that make you different but also allow you to solve problems and be creative when it comes to problem solving? Knowing your quirks is the first way to start showing up authentically. I love to tell stories. I love to make analogies. And so the beauty of some quirks is that they don't require an announcement. You just do it. Like I mentioned, I just announced that I like to make analogies, but it's one of my quirks. I make pictures in my head. That's just how I see situations. And it helps me relate to the situation someone's talking about, or even somebody's own personal experience, especially if I've never been in that experience myself. Some people have to have experienced it to be able to connect to it. And so I just make up a story and it makes more sense to me. So one that I love to talk about is the emotional house. Like, how do I relate to people's emotions? But we'll talk about that on a different show. So my next tip is how to leave your representative when connecting with others is knowing where the line is. What are your boundaries? If you don't know, you are probably going to feel pretty lost. And boundaries are how we can tell where others end and we begin. At least that's how they taught it to me in school. And that's a great way to think about it because sometimes we do have to start drawing the line at extremes. Let me know in the comments some of the boundaries that you have and what pushes your boundaries. So if it's someone being loud, if it's someone being forceful, if it's someone being disrespectful, because disrespect is relative. Everybody has a different way to be disrespected. For example, when I was a director, my boundaries were often pushed by the expectations of those around me because those expectations would change with my performance. I had to learn that no one could set a goal on my behalf, only with my collaboration. And so getting into leadership and getting into your job, once you have firm boundaries established, you'll be able to guide others on how to respect you and also how to push you and challenge you. Because it's not a bad thing for someone to have expectations. What's bad is that they don't ask for your consent to have those expectations on you. Okay, so last tip today on showing up authentically and keeping it real by keeping in alignment with your values. Positive psychology is one of the theories I work with in my counseling work and in my coaching work. And values are supposed to be the guiding principles in your life that can lead to a sense of purpose. So if you know what you truly value, you don't have to show up as a fake version of yourself. Some people will, say that, okay, they want to lead, but they don't even think about what values around leadership they actually see as important, because not everybody is a visionary leader. Not everyone is a charismatic leader. Not everyone is a servant leader, which it's debatable. I think that servants should be a part of leadership, but that's because that's what I value. I value service and giving back to people and giving of yourself to. But once some of those values, there's clarity there, the values that you have will show up. So just because your job values certain things, or your family of origin values certain things, that doesn't define you. And before you're out there keeping it too real, knowing how to express your values is another part of it, but that's not today's topic. That's more of a communication skill. Because once you know those values, one of the beautiful things about them is that you can express them however feels natural and complete for you. So we can both value the same thing, success, but the way I value success is that I push myself and I challenge myself. But then if I also value rest, I will only push myself so far, and I will also take time to rest. So you have more than one value, and knowing, their hierarchical importance. So if you're a person of faith, spirituality could be number one. If you're not a person of faith, and I say faith as in a faith or doctrine but if you're a spiritual person, you can value spirituality and not necessarily value religion. And all of these unique ways that we can think about our values really is what adds to our uniqueness. Yes, we all look different. Yes, we all speak differently, but honestly, your values are what are the foundational pieces of your identity. And like I was saying, my definition of success may not be yours, so I cannot judge what another person thinks about, my success or their own. If they don't think they're being successful, that's fine. But if we're working together in like a, counseling or coaching context, it's more of, okay, you say that this is what success is to you. You're doing that, but you don't see that as successful. Now we start getting into some distortion. But at the end of the day, having that foundation of, okay, well, this is what I really believe in. This is what I really value. And then once those values are communicated, I can only critique how their behavior impacts me. But I can't critique the value that they have. There's no such thing as a bad value. There's only bad behavior leading to the expression of said value. So I use the example a lot. Again, I love my analogies. A mob boss and a philanthropist. They both value money. But what value does money hold? For a philanthropist, it's an opportunity to give back to the less fortunate. And a mob boss may have the same behavior, but how are they getting that money? Okay, it may be funneled through roughing up people, and I've watched a lot of gangster movies recently, so I'm having the pictures in my head. I started doing a bad Italian accent because that would be inappropriate. But the whole point is to say we can value the same thing, and we can go about expressing those values differently. But at the end of the day, if you're authentically showing up as yourself and bad behavior comes along with it, as long as you own it, own your consequences, again, no one can actually really judge you. But if you're acting like, well, no, it's not that bad, we're minimizing things, then that's when we start getting into the weeds and you're not really being authentic. Okay, so just to recap, ways that you can show up as the real you. You got to know what makes you quirky, makes you different, makes you unique, something that you do that most people don't do. Not saying that no one else in the world would ever do this thing, but nobody's ever going to do it like you. It's just being able to own those quirks and radically accept them as a part of yourself. And for my people that are neurodivergent, maybe on the ADHD or autism spectrum, it's if you are constantly late, that's not a quirk, that's more of a behavior. But if you are constantly late because you tend to prioritize something that's because I'm helping other people, okay, so you really value, you're quirky because you will put others before yourself. But really understanding, is that really the behavior that I want? Is that really being true to myself? Because a lot of us are afraid of being selfish. And selfishness, yes, it's in the angry emotion, but selfishness is necessary at times. The thing about any emotion is that up to a certain level, it's got a helpful, it's a thing to move you. Emotions are energy in motion, right? So if I'm feeling a little selfish, now that gives me the chance to look at the environment and look at the situation. Why do I need to take back for myself? Why do I need to protect myself? Versus, oh, I can't ever be selfish because I don't value selfishness, so I have to just do whatever everybody else says. Doesn't make any sense, right? But when selfishness goes beyond what you value and what you say that you are as a person, okay, I said I was going to do this thing, but I don't really feel like doing it, and so I'm going to be selfish and not do it without giving explanation or giving clarity. That's not really fair. Again, not being authentic. So yes, knowing your quirks, knowing your boundaries, because think about it, if you say you were going to do something, you've actually set a boundary for yourself. I'm going to show up, I'm going to be at this place, I'm going to do this thing. So if you acknowledge the quirk of being late, but also you made the boundary of I'm going to show up, that's your behavior that you have to change. And then once you have your values as the foundation, because I'm a reliable person, okay, if I'm a reliable person and I said I was going to be here and I tend to be late, now I know what to do to show up authentically. I got to go to bed earlier. I got to set several alarms. I have to do what I need to do to be the person I said I was going to be. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that's helpful. If you are ready to show up more authentically in your life, you can get on Epiphany Lane. On Epiphany Lane in 3 ways. Of course, following me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. I don't tweet a lot, but I'm more read Twitter. But hey, just follow me anyway. And just be able to be a part of some of my content. And then if you are in Texas and you're looking for a therapist that you can identify with that will help you be the authentic you, you can book a free consultation with Epiphany Lane Counseling. Or if you want to work with me as a coaching client, I am developing a coaching course called Pathway to Purpose, which helps you identify both all your values, your boundaries, so some of the career paths that you can do with the skills and the abilities and the passions, and really unpacking yourself and then creating a map of what's going to be in my way, what are the potential pitfalls, who are the people in my life, what are the strengths that I have, really mapping out how can I get my life aligned with the purpose that is set for me or that I believe I have. And we do this together in a group model. So pre-order just tells me, okay, once I have enough people in the group, then we can start the group, versus me just doing it all the time. Like, I'm not going to give of myself when there's no one to receive. And so, yes, if you want to at least stay on the email list or anything like that, you can click the link on my bio. If you're on Instagram, on Facebook, you can go to my website, www.oneepiphanylane.com. Lots of information there. Took a lot of time to write it all out, so take some time and read it. There's email lists you can join if you are an empathic person, so sensitive emotionally, or someone who is highly sensitive. I have a self-care journal, and anybody can use it. Like, it's not just for empaths, of course, but that's one of the things I specialize in because I'm an empath. And learning how to manage emotional energy of other people and of yourself, and learning how to prioritize yourself is really important. And self-care is a lot of things, which we will definitely have a talk on later in this summer. Okay, so all these links can be found, like I said, on my Instagram page, on my Facebook page, on Epiphany Lane and Epiphany Lane Council. Yeah, I have all those freebies are there. I also have one for leadership, for the empathic leader. And then I have one for couples. I have a couples journal for couples looking to connect a little bit more and not really knowing where to start. So next week, I'll be back with my first installment of my other show. I have several shows. Mind Your Blackness. And this show is dedicated to examining the Black and African diasporic experience through psychology and other forms of thinking, other perspectives. And it's been a kind of a passion project in the back of my mind for many years, but I finally have found the space, the time, the structure, and the platform to do that. So the topic for next week is going to be, what is regular Black? I asked this question on TikTok. TikTok's algorithm is suppressing me. I'm not gonna lie, but I would love to know what you think regular Black is. Now, of course, this is mostly given to people of color or Black people that are multiracial, multi-ethnic. I would like for people that aren't Black to spectate and just learn about what the Black experience is like psychologically and have some empathy for what we go through. But something like being called regular, oh, she's regular Black, can sometimes, it can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. So I'm excited to have this conversation. And I would love to hear, again, your thoughts about it. Again, my name is Tiffany Lindley, founder and CEO of On Epiphany Lane. And I'm wishing you power, peace, and joy on the journey.